Hi, everyone. I am Aimeé Teegarden, and I am here with,
Gail Grady.
and we are so excited for all of you to see our new movie, Heart of the Matter. We have a couple of questions that Hallmark Movies and Mysteries sent our way that we will be answering today. So let's get started. Okay, the first question. In Heart of the Matter, cardiologist Andy is devastated by an accidental death of one of her patients. Without giving too much away, can we share why viewers will be connected to this storyline? Gail, do you have any thoughts?
Me, you were supposed to take the lead on you were
I asked
supposed
the
to take the
question.
lead on that. Now let me see how I can answer that without giving too much away. Um, I think that viewers can connect with the storyline because it's about family and it's about love and trust. And I think it's about a mother's love. So
Definitely. I definitely feel like it's so much about trust and connection. Um, for me, I think a lot of what came up with this project was really about connection to each other and also the human experience is life and it's death. And sometimes, when things come up and things happen, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas that come up and feelings of responsibility and forgiveness and grace that comes along with it. And I think that this project really goes and hopefully starts some of those conversations around some of, the bigger matters in life.
I love that you said starts conversations about the bigger matters in life, just starts conversations about what's important.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so question number two. Henry's mom, Gladys, is trying to heal from losing her son while Andy's own family wounds start to resurface. What do we admire most about our characters' journeys as they learn to deal with grief? Do you want me to? I'll take
Go
this one
ahead.
because let's
Okay.
start off. For me, and I think with Andy's character, she's a doctor, and there's a lot that comes with that. And with her, this is one of her patients that she's cared for a long time, and with his death, there's a lot of things that come up that she's been compartmentalizing from her own childhood for a long time. And I think the grief really hits her and strikes her in a way that having other patients in the past pass away, it doesn't hit the same spot. And I think with her, there's so much that really kind of starts to surface in this film. And I think there's this beautiful relationship with Gladys, where it's these two women who are really just trying their best in life and trying to figure things out and deal with the circumstances that they found themselves in, and the connection that forms between the two of them. I think is a really a beautiful theme that comes up in this film.
I think for Gladys, what I admire most about the character that I had the opportunity to play is that in her grief, instead of letting anger run the show, and there were so many, there's so many different levels of grief and stages of grief, but instead of letting, like I said, anger lead the way, she found another way to deal with it. And part of it has to do with, I think, well, no, wait, I have to stop myself because it's giving things away. So I'll just say I love the way that she was able to turn things around and as you mentioned earlier, find grace and and figure out how to forgive.
Yeah, I think it's really, really well said. Okay, so question three. After learning the cause of Henry's accident, Gladys questions Andy's abilities of being a doctor. How does their grief over Henry's death change their feelings towards each other?
I think in the beginning, or whenever there is a tragedy in one's life, I think we it a common reaction is to blame, regardless of whether the blame is misplaced, because the grief is. Oh my gosh, I'm getting choked up thinking about the different moments in the movie, but um, the grief is so much, and in order to function and get through a day, I think a lot of times people get angry and they blame. Um, and I think after the blaming came a little more understanding for my character.
Um, I think as far as Andy and Gladys and Andy's relationship with Gladys, being charged with taking care of her son and providing the best medical care available, and really just seeing how much of Gladys's life and love she's poured into this boy, and um, how how difficult it is as a parent to lose a kid, and then the struggle that goes on with that. Um, and really, there are no words for it. And grief is um, is unique. While we all experience it and its emotion, everybody's experience with grief is unique to them, and there are common themes. But I think that with Andy's character, she's really struggling to figure out how to be able to continue to do her job, or if she's in the wrong field. And she became a doctor because I think she tried to um, think her way through a problem and become, the best cardiologist possible, and sort of trying to rewrite her past with her career choices, and be the person that she wishes she was when she was younger, um, and to try to help people and save people. And when it doesn't work out how she hopes and thinks it should, there's a lot of self-doubt that comes up. And I think being confronted with Gladys around Henry's death brings up a lot of stuff that she kind of starts to process throughout the film. And on that note, okay. Question four. There are a lot of emotional moments in this movie where our characters are trying to work through their own pain and grief. Without giving any spoilers, do we each have a favorite scene?
I do.
um, I have a favorite scene that's at the very end of the film, where it's the two of us and we are outside of the hospital, and there's just this beautiful back and forth. And me personally, as an actor, just really, I've just felt so connected in that moment. To you as a human being, and just really being in it, and working through all of the stuff that was coming up was just really therapeutic and beautiful. And I'm really excited for people to be able to see that scene, and to see that ability for two people who are down in it with their grief and their struggle to find forgiveness and grace for each other, but also for themselves.
That is also one of my favorite scenes, but one scene that I'm nervous to see because I was struggling with that scene, if you remember, because it is because what led up to that scene, it's a complicated scene, and I felt, I don't even know if we can talk about this stuff, but I was having such a hard time with that scene. So I hope Hallmark did its Hallmark magic and put it together in a great way, as they usually do. But there was one point when I felt like the first time that we did it, it was like boom. And then the second time you do multiple takes. And the second time I started the scene and I felt like I was rambling, and I finally said, is somebody going to cut the scene because it's really bad? And Mark came out from the behind the monitor, our director, and it was it just I loved that scene because there was such a connection between the two of us, and I'm nervous about that scene. The other scene that I love, that I have thought about a lot, was a scene with a reporter, and saying that we don't like the word handicap, and then explaining to the reporter where that word comes from. And I really loved doing that scene. So
I'm excited to see it. I wasn't on set that day, so I'm very excited to see that scene. Andy struggles in this movie with losing a patient, and Gladys struggles with trying to find forgiveness. As actors, what did we have to do to prepare ourselves for these roles? I personally, my mother died 5 years ago, so I can definitely connect with having one parent and going through the death of a parent. And then a couple weeks before I got the script, my grandmother actually she died of a stroke, and so um, it was a lot of stuff coming up for me throughout this production process, especially with my grandmother, who was like Hallmark's #1 fan and would track people down like in the front yard and would just be like, my granddaughter's on this Hallmark movie, you need to watch it. And she was just so full of love and life. And then when the script came across, it just felt like a little bit of I don't know, divine intervention or kismet or something, that this film was an ability for me as an actor and as a person to sort of work through all of those emotions and dealing with grief and how it actually presents. And it was very close to home, this project, for me. But Gail, I would love to hear what you think.
First of all, I'm so sorry for
Thanks.
your loss. Um, I definitely, it's funny as an actor when we have things going on in our life, how we pull certain roles in. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yep.
If there's something legal going on, I get an offer to play an attorney. If you're in an emotional place, it seems like we just seem to pull these things in organically, certain roles. Um, I usually don't talk about how I put roles together or how I prepare, because I never honestly know how I'm going to prepare until I pick the script up. This particular project, Heart of the Matter, um, was so it was written in a way, and the story was put together in a way that sometimes it felt like you just had to show up on the set and be. And it didn't feel like there was a lot of preparation or necessary. When I don't mean that you don't prepare for a role, but it just, we kind of felt like we were just kind of in the moment. And the writing was so rich that um, you were just, if you were present, it happened magically. I felt connected to this because I have a son. Um, and sometimes on a set, you don't have the luxury of rehearsal or, um, you don't have time to research and everything. So you just show up with all your emotions and let it rip. So, um, it, I just think it was written in a way that it was easier for us actors. Whereas sometimes you're trying to draw from whatever, whenever, but it just, I don't know. I just kind of, I felt from the moment I read the script, I just felt in a certain zone with it.
Yeah, definitely. Um, okay, so the loss of Henry brings up a lot of questions for both our characters, and Andy tries to figure out the next steps in her medical career and begins to question her relationship with single dad Patrick. How does having a good support system help each of our characters as they learn to cope with grief?
This question is going to make me cry. Um, my character, hmm, I has good friends around her. Um, I think also too that because my character loves her son Henry so much that she, now see, here's one of those questions though that to not give spoilers or anything, but my character um is a smart woman and has cared for her son so much and loved him so deeply that she was able to maybe just love. Oh gosh, this is a complicated one, Amy, because every direction I go in to answer the question leads to, well, that's what happens at the end of that scene. Or I think that she has a group of friends around her, and I think that my character Gladys ends up embracing the love of Henry, um, and the love of his memory and how happy he was instead of dwelling on, you know, dwelling on the bad. And I think that's where my character found some strength to be able to move forward and not be so angry and blaming.
Definitely. Um, I think that my character, like um, anybody who's going through a traumatic time and dealing with grief, I think the biggest thing is really just having a support system that's just there to hold space. Um, and like Patrick in the film, who Andy is dating and her fiance, um, he's just so unshakable. He's not there trying to fix her. He's not trying to tell her to get over it. He's just holding space for her to work through her grief. And as we all know, like anybody who's experienced grief, it's not linear. It's not something you work through. It's an emotion, and it's something that you carry with you for the rest of your life. But having that grief is the ability to know that you had a love there that was so deep that it never goes away. Sorry, there's just a lot. Um, but yeah, I think that Andy throughout the whole film, like her friends that she has around her and Patrick and her ability to try to, almost self-sabotage and really just tries to push everyone out of her life for fear of almost bringing them down, or for being too big, too invested, or fear of being rejected. And I think there's such a beautiful shift with the people that she has in her life that really just are in it for the good, the bad, the ugly, and just holding space for her. And I think that's a beautiful thing to see her on her journey. So, how was it working with the entire cast, including Peter Bryant, who plays Dr. Fisher, and Chandler Massey, who plays Henry? Were there any moments during production where we all bonded?
We had most of our scenes um, were separate. I mean, we had scenes together. There was never a scene where Chandler, who plays my son Henry, and you and I were in the same scene. Or I remember the first day that I walked on the set, you were doing a scene with Peter Bryant, who plays Dr. Fisher, who I love him. I absolutely love him.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he
Fantastic.
is. And um, in fact, I begged him to do a self tape with me over the weekend because I'm like, I needed a man to remember. I talked to you about that,
Oh, yes,
and
yes, yes, yes.
I had talked to Brian, and he's like, "Oh, I have my daughter this weekend," and he said, "But let me see if I can," because I thought his acting is so rich and so wonderful. I wanted to, um, to read with him, but there was never a time when all of us were really in the same room. Um, we would sit in, in our chairs in the green room together and talk. That was more bonding. Um, and then you and I just dove into one emotional scene after another.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky. Peter and I had a bunch of just really rich, beautiful, messy scenes in Dr. Fisher's shed that were just such a wonderful gift to be able to work through and create. And Mark being able to help orchestrate, and just some really just wonderful things. I think how everybody really bonded though was everybody kind of came to the table with the script, um, with the same intention of just really bringing truth to the pages and truth to screen, and really just being present. That was the biggest gift I think of this whole production, was everybody was just really present.
Right,
Um,
showed up. That's what I
yeah.
was going to say. Chandler Massey, who plays Henry, my son, um, there were, he stayed in character so much. When they would yell cut, he stayed in character. But there is this, um, he has this sweetness that just oozes out of him. That being around him, all I wanted to do was just go, oh, baby, you know what I mean? He just has this thing about him. And the way that he plays the character Henry is lovely. I just thought he was lovely. So,
Everybody was so wonderful. Um, okay, next question. Before we go, what do we hope viewers will take away from watching this heartfelt movie?
I've been asked this question on everything that we work on as actors. We're always asked the question what we want viewers to take away from watching the movie. And I I think it's so individual to audience from what they need or what they want to feel or what they want to take away. And it's personal. And I think, but this time I think I want to say that I hope they go away with a full heart from
Yeah.
watching the movie.
Yeah. I definitely, that sentiment rings really true. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I just would love people to take away after watching this film is really just the permission to see life as messy and to be okay with it, and to really lean into life, and to just really be able to have some of the, the bigger conversations, the more important conversations. And I hope that this film sort of opens some of those up, and creates a path for having those conversations with the people that they love.
I love what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so wrapping up, I just want to say thank you for joining us, and we can't wait for you to watch the premiere of our new movie, Heart of the Matter.
Tune in May 15th, 9 o'clock, 8 Central, only on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries.
And if you want, you can tweet along with us while you're watching using the hashtag Heart of the Matter. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.